Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, your weekly video game news podcast, broadcasting live Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. We got the video, we got the audio, but we're on iTunes, so you're probably just listening to the audio. I don't know. Maybe you like watching live on Twitch. That's not me. That's not my life, but you know what? I'm not going to judge you for it. It's Friday, September 14th, and we have a goodly amount of news to talk about this week. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct that happened earlier this week, all the cool stuff that they said, and then the not-so-cool flip side to their online service. After that, we're going to be talking about Spoderman, Nathaniel J. Spoderman. Will he get the photographs in time for Jonah Jameson?
Jonah Jama Journanen.
Then we're going to talk about a more serious topic of violence perpetrated toward Twitch streamers and YouTubers and how that's affecting the community. Then we're going to talk about Riot Games trying to clean up their act, followed by EA under investigation.
Not cleaning up their act.
Choosing not to clean up their act. And finally, a TV show of a sleeper hit video game that might be in development. That's cool. Then we're going to wrap up with video games that just came out, video games that are about to come out. And that's the stuff. That's the thing. That's everything.
Your name is Lex and my name is Booge.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that part.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who we are by now. What episode are we on?
We skip a lot. Episode a lot. I like that you said goodly. You said we have a goodly amount of news. I don't hear that word too often. Mm-hmm. It's a good word.
Trying to mix it up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Nintendo. This week, Nintendo both delighted and disappointed, I think.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the delightful parts first, which is everything from the September Nintendo Direct. Now, Nintendo's been doing a lot of Directs lately. We've talked about two of them already. I think the last one we spent way too much time on the show talking about because it wasn't actually that interesting. This one actually is that interesting. There's a lot of stuff in it. But mostly, they've been trying to do these every week, every other week. And they've focused a lot on indie games coming to the Switch. That's been the previous two have done that. This one had some indie game stuff, but mostly this was the cool first-party things that we were all hoping for. I think the only the only wrench that got thrown into this that actually helped us as a show, which was nice, was that this Direct was going to be last week, but then there was an earthquake, so they decided to put it off. Which was great because we didn't do a show last week, so we would have been talking about much older news if we were talking about the Direct now if they did it on time.
Yeah, the earthquake was in our favor, I guess.
Thanks, Mother Nature.
Yeah, for fucking up Hokkaido.
Mm-hmm. But seriously, we hope everybody's okay. That was
I hope it wasn't serious. Yeah.
So, we got this Direct, and it started great. The first thing in the Direct put all of our fears at ease from a previous Nintendo Direct when Luigi had died because Castlevania's too hardcore for him.
It is.
And in this one, at the beginning of it, we got to see Luigi wandering around in a mansion, a very well-rendered mansion, and I thought, oh my gosh, does this mean a new Luigi's Mansion? And yeah, that's exactly what it meant. No, really, they didn't like tease us at all. It was just like, nah, there's a Luigi's Mansion 3. It's coming out for the Switch at some point.
Yeah.
Get ready for it.
Mic drop.
They did a little update.
I really wish that this Direct just would have started with Luigi's funeral and they just kept that canon. Like, yeah, he passed away, unfortunately.
No, they should have had it be his funeral, and he gets brought back at it, and then the whole funeral is disrupted, and everyone's like, Bowser's like, why'd I spend all this money?
Yeah.
On this nice funeral if you weren't even dead? We're gonna stay dead.
Yep.
But it was great. What were some of the other things? There were a bunch of big things talked about.
Katamari Damacy!
Yeah, we're getting Katamari Damacy, and it's remastered, right?
It looks like, I think it's a remaster of the first one. It's called Katamari Damacy Rerolled. That's cool. I think that Katamari should be in more places more often. I think that it should be like it is a household name, but I think that it should be more of a household name. It should be more out there
Oh
because
yeah,
I
it's
love those games.
delightful. And they talked about how they're going to use the controllers sort of motion control features and the rumble stuff to add to the gameplay, which sounds great. Really great
Hmm.
use of that.
Totally.
So,
Um, I'd say probably at least the most surprising thing to me is that a bunch of board games are coming to the Switch.
oh yeah, okay, this is super interesting. We've got I'm going to open the side article about this, but we've got Pandemic. We saw Pandemic, we saw a Lord of the Rings board game,
Hmm.
and what was the other one?
Catan, Settlers,
Oh.
Settlers of Catan, and Carcassonne,
Yeah. Carcassonne.
which I've
Uh,
never played.
it's fun. It's
Yeah,
pretty straightforward and simple, but it's a fun game. Oh yeah,
cool.
and they also announced that Munchkin is probably going to get a version on there.
Ah,
We didn't see any gameplay of Catan or Munchkin. They just said
hmm
those are coming in the future, and I guess they've partnered with, I don't remember the name of this company, Asmodee Digital,
yeah.
who I guess are a company that port board games over into video game form. And I'm kind of interested. I'm actually really interested to see that Lord of the Rings living card game thing, because there are certain board games, and I don't know how into board games you are,
So,
but
yeah, more into RPGs than board games, but yeah.
yeah, there are some really interesting board games like Talisman, games like
Mm,
Arkham Horror, that are these
yes.
massive board games where you have to keep track of like 50 million things. And when I'm playing them, I'm always like, man, I really wish this was automated like a video game, because then it would just be way
Yeah,
easier to play. And the board games
yeah.
cost like $80 to $100 because there's
They're
so
very
much
expensive.
stuff in them. So
Yeah,
if
it's like
you
Twilight Imperium is like that.
Yes,
Like
exactly. Twilight
hugely
Imperium, great
massive.
example of that. So if you were to condense all those things down into a video game, it would still be easier to develop than like if you condense Twilight Imperium, a game about space conquest, down into that. That would
Mhm.
still be easier to make than what's the equivalent Alpha Centauri type game.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
totally.
but it would be, even if it was the price of a AAA video game, which it wouldn't be, it would be cheaper. But even if it did have a $60 price tag, it would still be cheaper than buying the board game.
Yeah, totally. And I think Switch is uniquely positioned for doing some really interesting things with board games because you can do the thing of multiple switches, multiple screens, different teams or different people against each other. Like you can have privilege information on one screen that another person doesn't. You can play against each other in that way that I think, you can't really do with an Xbox or a PlayStation. Unless it's online. Like you can do couch board game co-op with Switch, which is cool, I think.
Yeah.
If you get a little creative with your programming.
So that's all super exciting. Oh, you know what? We should talk about one of the things they announced right after Luigi, because it was like the Luigi thing was like the prologue, the intro, and
Mhm.
then I think they talked a little bit about Luigi's Mansion for the 3DS, and they talked about some other 3DS things. That was the other thing they did at
They
the
did.
beginning. They
I
spent a
just
little
want to
bit.
say, I want to say this about the board games real quickly though. Where are you at, Hasbro? Where are you at with the fucking Dungeon Masters screen for the Switch?
I know, right? Like Hasbro, get on that. Ooh, there's
Yeah,
a market.
like make the keep the promise you made with fourth edition all those years ago, and fucking get on this digital train.
Yeah, so they talked a little bit about 3DS titles, including the Luigi's Mansion, not remake, but port to 3DS, which is cool. And it's I didn't really care too much about the 3DS stuff. They spent like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes on it. It was nice to
Yeah,
see some new titles, I suppose, for that. But then
sure,
they
keeping
jumped
it
into the
supported.
yeah, then they jumped into the Switch stuff, and I think one of the big announcements is they announced another character for Super Smash,
Another one.
and that is what's her name? Is it Isabella?
Um,
Animal
uh,
Crossing character, that
yeah.
that very nice dog lady. Yes, Isabella. uh
Isn't everyone just a very nice dog lady in Animal Crossing? Isn't that
hey,
the whole game?
well, that's KK Slider is a cool dog dude,
He's
but
a stone musician, is what he is.
yeah, Isabel is going to be in Super Smash, and just the way they announced it was so funny, because it's like she gets a letter and she opens it and she just zooms in and she's like, oh my gosh, they want me to be in Smash? And oh, the memes that have come out of that.
Yeah.
Because Smash is,
good.
I don't know if you know, kids, but Smash is a slang term for something that doesn't have to deal with fighting.
It's for the sex. The sex stuff.
So there was a lot of silly memes made.
Yes.
But
Yes.
But it's cool that she's going to be in it. We didn't need any more characters, but it's nice to see that character in there. And
well, I mean, it's fulfilling the promise that literally every video game character of all time is going to be in Smash Ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta pick up the pace really if they want to keep up with that.
Get Kratos in there.
I'm surprised he's not.
Get Spider-Man in there.
Seriously, like at this point, I'm surprised. Like you could say almost any video game character, and I'm like, I could see it happening.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I don't
totally.
think there's anything off limits anymore.
So yeah, it's
They get the Katamari, get the prince in there, the from Katamari.
Oh, that would be great. There'd be all sorts of fun things to do with a character like that. Ooh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they announced she's going to be in that, and then they announced that there is going to be a new Animal Crossing game coming out in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The raccoon mayor of the city, he told us from his desk. That's what's going to happen.
What's his name? He's the fucking money. He's like the loan shark, right? That like he's like, yo, you can have a house, but man, you gotta pay them bells. Where them bells at?
Where them
son?
bells?
Gonna hold you hostage in your house until you give me all your bells.
This is too real. This is too much like real life.
It is.
Tom Nook. That's his name.
Nook. Yeah, Nook. Nook the crime boss. The loan shark.
So that's great. I'm super happy about it. I'm not a huge Animal Crossing person, but I know it has its very strong fan base, and I'm happy to see that it's getting a new title and that it's getting some more representation in other Nintendo titles. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm. People lost their shit when that got announced.
Oh yes, they did. So we also had some other stuff talked about. They talked a little bit about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. They talked about bundles that went along with those. You can apparently change the hairstyle of your Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And that was good, but they also talked about Pokemon special moves, which is something I just expected that game to have, so it wasn't really surprising to me. They talked about SimCity, City Skylines.
SimCity doesn't exist anymore.
Unfortunately not. Since EA
City
destroyed
Skylines.
it.
Yeah, seriously. R.I.P. Maxis Redmond? I can't remember the name of the studio. But, odd, I think, that City Skylines is coming to Nintendo. Is it available on other consoles?
I don't know about that. I thought it was just PC, but I could be wrong.
I thought so too. Yeah, that's so like with some of these announcements, this one is like one of those where I'm just like, man, there's gonna have to be some developing wizardry to make the controls work for a Switch, because it's a tiny screen. It's a touch screen, which is nice, but it's still a tiny screen with limited controls compared to a mouse and keyboard. And let me tell you, I've played a lot of City Skylines, and there are some finicky road controls in that game that would be, I imagine, a nightmare if they're going to implement it fully. Because you can it's like really granular, and like you can really customize things a lot. So who knows? Wish them luck on that one, because it's an awesome game, and if they can get it to work, it'd be great on Switch.
Speaking of games where you build up stuff over time, apparently Civ 6 is coming to Switch.
That's another one.
So yeah, that's really interesting, because I know they've made Civilization games for mobile.
Yes.
But those often look very different than the PC versions. But Civ 6, it's just Civ 6. Like, I was looking at the gameplay and it just looks like Civ 6. So I am very interested to see how they do that.
That's because Civ, Civ's not incredibly finicky with its stuff. It's mostly just, clicking, but there's a lot of information on the screen. Like the screen size is what I worry about with that port, because there's you need to be able to have, I think, a pretty big screen to understand all the visual information in that game.
Definitely. Maybe one of those games that's just going to work way better in docked mode than in handheld.
Yes, totally. Well, I always forget about dock mode, honestly. when considering these things. Yeah, that's true. I forget that Nintendo is a fucking console. I always just think of it as a handheld.
No, that's a 3DS.
I know.
Jeez. Let's see here. We've got.
Can I tell you the funniest one I thought? Announcement?
Sure.
So they're remaking not remaking, but they're re-releasing some Final Fantasy games on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
They're re-releasing Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, and Final Fantasy X.
Yep.
Poor Final Fantasy VIII getting left in the fucking dust.
I don't get that at all, because I thought 9 was the forgotten child of that era of Final Fantasy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I never hear about 9. I hear about 8 and 7. I hear about 7 all the time, obviously, because it's 7. But I feel like I hear about 8 like all the time, but I never ever hear about 9. I actually prefer 9 to 8, but I always hear about 8, never hear about 9.
So that's interesting because I guess it depends on who your crew is and how you grew up, right? Because it was the opposite for me. I was always just around people talking about 9 and how great 9 was, a return to form, and just how 8 was not a good game, really. It's a really kind of fucked up, weird game with some cool stuff. I'm also surprised that 10, like I would think like 7, 8, and 9, that PS1 trilogy, which is like lauded, some of the golden years of Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
I think that like those 3 would be good, but yeah, why go 7, 9, 10? It's so fucking strange.
I think that my assumption is they're doing that because 10 is it just sold really well. Like 10 was a big seller. That moved a lot of PS2s. That's actually what got me to buy a PS2 back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So I assume it's because of the selling potential. And that's
it
also
was fully voice acted. I remember when that was a big thing.
Yeah, they did a good job with it. So
no, they didn't. That game sucks.
Come on, no, that game's good. Don't give me that.
Ha 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 ha. No, but yeah, talking about memes, I've seen some great ones of just like emo squall. Like it's like half of the screen will be the announcement, and it's like 7, 9, and 10, and then it just like shows Squall all pixelated and it just says whatever.
Did they say did I hear news about 12 for something?
Yeah. So also Final Fantasy 12 The Zodiac Age is coming to Switch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is, I believe it's not is it a remake or a greatest hits, or not greatest hits, but like a game of the year collection kind of thing.
Oh, they also talked about that Crystal Chronicles game, which I've never played. I've never seen anyone play, but I always hear annoying people talking about it on the internet. And it's a up to 4-player co-op action RPG, and I love those kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, if it's good, I'd buy it for Switch. Why not?
Sure. I'd buy that for $1. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just to move on, tell you what I'd buy if I really wanted a 4-player co-op action RPG. What I'm going to buy before Crystal Chronicles, I'm going to buy that Diablo game. They announced the release date for that, which is going to be November 2nd.
Oh, that quickly. Actually, I didn't. That's crazy.
Well, they had originally said it was going to come out in the fall, so I'm just like, oh, so if they haven't announced the release date yet, then it must be in November, because otherwise it's not fall anymore.
Indeed, that is not fall.
So, yeah,
that's cool.
There's what else did they talk about?
Just as a side note, the past couple days I've been playing Path of Exile.
Mm-hmm.
Do you play that? Have you ever played that?
I have played it. I think it's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insanely complex, and it's like studying for like a capstone class or something.
Speaking of Final Fantasy X, what do Path of Exile and Final Fantasy X have in common?
I don't know, actually.
Their skill trees are exactly the same.
That's true. Yes, They both have that sphere grid.
The sphere grid. And I remember playing 10 and being like, wow, the sphere grid is a great idea. Why don't I see this in anything else? And then I played Path of Exile, and I'm like, you guys got it. You used it.
You got it.
You figured out that it was good, and you used it. I was really happy to see it in another game.
You used it and made it about 20 times more complicated.
Yes, and it was not streamlined in FF10.
No.
But Path of Exile, my problem with Path of Exile is my internet connection is not great. It is just okay. So when I try and play a game where you're fighting like 30 enemies on screen at the same time, it like super lags and it's awful.
Yeah, that game has inherent lag problems, anyways. So yeah,
That was actually one of the problems with Diablo 3 that I had, is sometimes it would lag out when you're fighting a lot of the guys, because that game, you had to play it online. One of the big gripes about that game, but Diablo 4 Switch, you can play offline.
oh my god,
that was something they made a big point of saying. So I am excited for another reason to play that. Other things we got to find out about: Mario Tennis Ace is getting an update. Splatoon is getting an update. Yoshi's Crafted World is coming to Switch. Another cute Yoshi game with arts and crafts. Something Yoshi is kind of known for at this point,
I guess.
What else are we gonna have here? There is Capcom releasing all of those arcade beat 'em ups as one bundle. I don't know how much that's supposed to be. I need to look into that. But if that's a decent price, like, there's some great beat 'em ups in there. King of Dragons, I think it's called, which was ported to the Super Nintendo, and that's what I played it on back in the day. I remember loving that game. So, yeah, I kind of... also, there's a lot of arcade ports on Switch. If, for those who don't have a Switch, have not browsed the eShop. There's a lot of arcade ports, but very few of them are done by, like, a company like Capcom. They're usually done by, like, third parties. And they're, like, middling ports. They're not particularly good. So...
yeah, and if there's anything Capcom has made some errors in the past, but if there's one thing they know how to do is old school beat 'em up games. Those games just felt great to play.
Then we also they talked a lot about Nintendo Online. And the first thing I'm going to talk about with that, before I get into the negative stuff, is that the classic NES titles, and how there's, we got a list of them. We got Ghosts and Goblins, we got Excite Bike, Tecmo Bowl, Yoshi.
Yeah, I love Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, Tecmo Bowl was so good. Double Dragon, Gradius? Gradius? I don't remember that game at all.
It's a shmup. It's like
nice.
Life Force and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Ice hockey, River City Ransom, pro wrestling, baseball.
Yay.
You know what I'm reminded of reading all these titles is the NES era game titles were just like the wrestling game. Because there aren't other wrestling games yet. They have not been made. So this is the wrestling game. This is the
one. This is our wrestling game.
Baseball, the game.
Right. Simpler time in the 80s.
Yeah. Let's see. We're gonna have Balloon Fight, Donkey Kong, Dr. Mario, Ice Climber, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers Soccer, or Mario Brothers Soccer, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Bros. 3, and Tennis. More on the way. Solomon's Key, NES Open Tournament Golf. Well, that's kind of a more complex golf name. Super Dodgeball, Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, Twinbee, Wario's Woods. I don't remember that at all. Ninja Gaiden.
I don't know.
Adventures of Lolo. Some of these.
That's a cool game.
We're starting to get into the weeds here, but
it's a little weird now.
They also talked about how they're like, we're gonna also offer NES controllers, and they can they can charge on your system. You just slide them right on the sides, for only $60 for them.
Jesus.
And I was like, wow, that's a horrible deal, because NES controllers are just the same as a single Joy-Con or the Joy-Cons, right? Except objectively worse, because they don't have a joystick.
Right.
They're just buttons and a D-pad, because they're NES controllers. So that's a reason to charge less for them, because they literally have less functionality than a normal controller and can only be used for the retro games. But not to be outdone, Nintendo will charge you basically the same amount. I actually do think it's a little less than Joy-Con package, but only like $10 less.
It's still the price of a full price of a game.
Yeah,
it's like,
no, it's a lot.
I will, and you know what? This isn't just Nintendo. Like, I will never understand the racket that is selling controllers at like such insane prices.
It's madness.
It's industry wide, and I think I guess like they have to. I guess it's just because like they know you have to buy a controller, so they might as well make a huge markup on it for a piece of plastic.
I think the part of the reason why Nintendo are emboldened to do this is because of the NES and SNES classics, and how that, I mean, they're just old I mean, they're not old tech. They're technically new tech and old software, but
Right.
they're sort of old tech. And they were charging, like, not astronomical prices, but, higher than they should have prices for them.
Right.
And people ate that up. So Nintendo's probably thinking, yeah, we could sell these retro controllers for, like, just about the same as our normal controller costs, which are already too high. People will
Yeah.
buy it, and they probably will, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they'll be solid controllers because, they're officially made by Nintendo or whatever. But it's a scam, more or less.
Yeah.
And but I do want to say that I like that they are broadening their classic library from a games preservationist kind of side of things. I know that like Nintendo probably doesn't think that way because they're all about the money, but it's good that, all this stuff is getting officially supported because, eventually there'll always be some games that just get lost, like perhaps forever because people don't have ROMs of them and they don't get officially supported, and the hardware starts to die and the batteries and the cartridges start to die and stuff. And, so it's good from that side of things that they're pulling this stuff, forward into the future.
Now to talk a little bit more about Nintendo Online.
The future that they deny to embrace.
God, it's so ugh. They had a whole presentation on it. I'm trying to find an art. I thought that this article I was already looking at had a link that just gave the bullet points of that presentation. But it was 4 or 5 things, and they were awful. It was like one of them was, hey, you got the retro games library. The other one was like, hey, you get cloud saves. And then I think
more on that later.
Yeah. Another one was, hey, you get online multiplayer. And then the last 2 were, hey, don't forget there's an iPhone app for voice chat.
God almighty. Almighty.
And I'm like, why is this even part of this presentation? Because it's literally like not part of Nintendo Online because it's a separate app. And then the last one was, you can qualify for rewards. We're not going to tell you what any of them are or what they could be, but we'll talk about them later. And I'm like, why is that even a bullet point on your thing?
Is that like bad translation?
It's just awful. The fact that like the whole presentation, they had some fun little animations for it. It was super cute. The animation for Toad using the voice chat app, and then like Mario and Luigi like coming in there talking to each other and everything. It was cute, but it was just obnoxious because I knew what they were advertising to me, and it was dumb.
Right. Yeah. Stop using your IP to try to sell bad tech.
Yeah, and the the fact that you can play multiplayer, that's great. Perfectly good. That is the baseline, though, of what I would expect an online service to offer. And
that's something that the Dreamcast tackled in 1999.
Yes. And the cloud save thing, I was just like, oh, cloud saves. That's cool. Except then in the wake of this, we found out all of this negative information about the cloud save stuff. It turns out that a bunch of major Nintendo Switch titles, some of them being first-party titles, aren't actually going to support cloud saving because Nintendo is worried about cheating.
I guess.
So it's like Splatoon, Dark Souls Remastered, obviously not made by Nintendo. Splatoon 2, and what was the other one? I'm blanking. I knew there was another big one, but I can't remember what it was.
FIFA?
Oh, yeah. So none of those will support cloud saving, and it's unclear whether there will be some other games in the future that will support it or not. And Nintendo's reasoning behind this when they were asked was, we don't want people to cheat and there are in-game items in here, and we don't want people to try and duplicate them or something like that, which is an argument that almost makes sense until you spend 2 minutes thinking about it and realize that all of this is cloud saving, which means all of this is stored on Nintendo servers so they can monitor all of it.
Yeah.
So if they want to prevent people from using cloud storage to dupe stuff, they literally monitor all of the cloud storage. They can easily weed those things out. And it's what all other companies do.
I was going to say, if that was something that happened on the regular, like Steam would have fucking been gone and dead long ago.
Yeah.
Like same thing with the Xbox and PlayStation. Like this is, oh my god, I don't know. Nintendo's got a problem with this online shit. Like they always have. I don't know why they can't figure it out. Like, and they can't. I don't know if it like. Do they realize how bad they're fucking up the online for these systems? Like,
I don't think they do. I
do
think
they
they're
know?
completely ignorant of how backwards this online service is.
Is that the case? Like, because they're a big fucking company, right? Like, and they must have people on the outside being like, people don't like the way you handle online shit. Like, why haven't they hired people that know what they're doing when it comes to this stuff? Like, I don't know. It baffles me. It baffles me especially because they've had problems with online before. The Switch came out not that long ago, and it still has the same fucking problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't learn. They learned in so many other ways. And the Switch is a great system, but they didn't learn with their fucking online stuff. It's so weird. It's so weird to me.
We also know that they're going to be real DRM heavy
Of course.
on this, which is like more so than other online services that offer more stuff. Specifically, this is going to be like, hey, if you want to play those NES games, you have to be able to check in with the Nintendo servers weekly, or else you
Yeah.
lose access to those games. Which is like kind of a big ask if you want to like go
Do you know
on
what that
vacation or something.
Do you know what that really reminds me of? When fucking Xbox One was originally announced and they announced all their weird online stuff to share games and the family passes and stuff.
It is a lot
So,
like that.
yeah.
And the other
Nintendo
thing,
gets away with it because they got fucking cute Yoshi and stuff.
because when they announced cloud storage, they literally had the little, I forget his name, but that little Mario character who rides around on a cloud. And
Latiku or Laiku or something.
And it was cute. It was cute.
Yep.
It was cute and it was funny. And I was
Yep.
like, this is a bad business practice, but I wish I didn't like it so much. And
Yeah.
then they also talked about, we learned that if you, I don't remember what the time on it is, but if you're not paying that subscription, like as soon as you're not paying for Nintendo's online service, those cloud saves are gone, like almost instantly, like within 24 hours, they're just gone. They're out of there. And it was compared in something I was reading to how the way Xbox and PlayStation handle it, where it's like, oh yeah, I mean, they'll still keep your data for like 6 months.
Right.
They're not totally heartless.
Because they're not monsters, yeah.
And
they also allow you to keep stuff on your home console, right? Which is something that Nintendo doesn't.
Well, I mean, Nintendo, everything's kept on like all your saves right now kept on the console, but they can only be kept on the internal hard drive of the console.
Right. That's what I meant, I guess.
Yeah, you can't, even though there's a slot for a memory card that you can then install games to, so you can expand your storage, you can't put saves on it for some reason. So you can't back up your own stuff. And again, Nintendo has said the reason for that is because they want to avoid dupes and things like that.
Well, if that's the case, they shouldn't have made a fucking SD card based system.
Yeah, that's weird. They kind of so there's a lot, and now this is not going to be an expensive service. I think we've talked in the past the price point, which is about like $20 a year, I think. Or you can do like, I think it's like $5 or $3 a month, which is obviously the most expensive way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an expensive service, but man, you are getting like next to nothing for this service.
Yeah, you get to play online with people. Huzzah!
You get access to a library of 20 plus games from the NES era.
Huzzah! Yeah, and it's like, this is stuff. What, like, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I start wondering who they're trying to market this stuff to. Because is it kids? Because if kids probably have a computer or a phone that they can play Fortnite on for free. Like, they don't want to pay. They don't want to have their parents ask their parents to pay for another $20 a year or whatever. And I don't know. It's just like, it's just cocked up from every angle, Nintendo. Come on. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, this Nintendo Direct, we saw a lot of great announcements, a lot of really interesting stuff. Very excited to see a lot of it. But man, they just they cemented in my mind that they have no idea what they're doing with this online service and really should rethink it in a significant way.
I think that the tale of the Switch thus far, it's classic Nintendo, right? It's two steps forward, one step back,
Yeah.
which they're always doing, or they have been at least probably since the Wii, or no, probably since like the GameCube, probably since like the N64. But it's always, they're always like they wow you with stuff that you could not imagine. They're like, wow, what? Settlers of Catan? What? Like crazy shit. Oh yeah, all these crazy games that you're super excited about. Plus, and then they always sneak in that fucking the stinger at the end where it's like, but we fucked up the online again, And that's just it's the tale of Nintendo. It's the tale as old as time. And I think the Switch, the tale is that Nintendo rocks at third-party acquisitions in terms of getting stuff on their console. Like they are just hoovering up, like Kirby himself, hoovering up all of these games onto the Switch, and it's great. Like this is that's exactly what they need to do. Like ride the wave as long as they can with the Switch in terms of putting more and more and more and more games on it. But yeah, just the three people that are working in R&D for their online, they need to get somebody else in there and fix this shit.
Like Kirby himself.
Like Kirby itself. I don't know if it's a he.
Oh yeah, it's fair.
So it's kind of a gender neutral pink blob.
So with that, let's finish up. We're done with Nintendo. Let's talk about Spoderman.
Spodarman from GamesIndustry.biz. Apparently, Spider-Man is the fastest selling game in the UK of the year. I kind of fucked up the sentence structure there, but you get what I'm saying. So PS4 exclusive Spider-Man is the fastest selling game of 2018 so far. Narrowly beats out previous record holder Far Cry 5, which was available on more platforms, and sold almost double that of the previous biggest exclusive of the year, God of War for PS4. God of Boy. Boy of War.
Dad of Boy.
Dad of Boy. Boy. Not only that, but it's the fastest selling Marvel branded game in history, beating previous title Lego Marvel Superheroes by a big margin. That made me think there's probably a lot of Marvel branded games in history. Yeah. They're all kind of junky, right?
Most of them, yes.
Yeah, but there was some good. Spider-Man actually has been holding the torch for Marvel now that I think about it, because those like the PS2 games, the Spider-Man games were great.
Yeah.
So he's always been the big dude. But anyways, it's also the fastest selling individual format game since the PS4 version of Call of Duty World War II November last year. Spider-Man is the latest in a long line of hit PS4 exclusive games. Doesn't quite topple Batman Arkham Asylum as the fastest selling superhero game of this generation in the UK. However, that game was released on more platforms, and it came out in 2015 when digital sales may not have been as strong as they are today. These UK charts do not include digital sales. They only count physical boxed units. It wasn't the only new release that week. Dragon Quest 11, had to do the Roman math in my head. Echoes of an Elusive Age, also a PS4 exclusive, made it to number 2. Meanwhile, Destiny 2 Forsaken debuted at number 8. Last week, number 1, FIFA F1 2018 drops to number 4, while the previous number 2 Pro Evolution Soccer 2019 falls to number 6. Of course, we're talking about the UK. That's why people are playing F1 and soccer.
Why is the Insane the Insane Trilogy is on this list. I was about to say, why isn't it?
The spider kills the bandicoot, finally. So Crash has been dethroned off of the out of Windsor Castle. If we look at the list here, this is the UKIEGFK. Don't know what that means. Top 10 for the week ending September 8th, 2018. So this is the UK's numbers. Number 1, Spooderman, with a monocle and a cup of tea. Number 2 is Dragon Quest 11. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, of course.
Yeah.
Number 4 is F1 2018 racing game. Number 5 is Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. 6, Pro Evolution Soccer. 7, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 8, Destiny 2, and 9, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That's crazy because that's for box copies. So good on them. Number 10, Lego The Incredibles. Sure. So yeah, the Brits are loving, or I shouldn't just say the Brits, the UK are loving that Spooderman.
That's good. Yeah, no, there was a quick update on that game. The last episode we did, which was 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Puddlegate. And, that was just the internet being mad over nothing, because when Spooderman actually came out, people did, more comparisons. And I forget, it was like Digital Foundry or stuff, like ran through the code and everything. And they're like, yeah, no, it's exactly the same.
Right.
It's the same. So
Yeah, that to just touch on that game real quick, it's like, have you played it all?
I've watched gameplay of it, but I have not played it.
Yeah, looks fun as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say that their whole inclusion of the photo mode is like inspired. Like it is so fucking cool. And in terms of graphics, like people have been getting amazing shots from that photo mode and putting them on like Twitter and stuff like that.
Well, they got to give them to J. Jonah Jameson. He
Gotta give
demands
him
them.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to shoot your web and put the camera in there to get pictures of Spider-Man capturing the criminals. Yeah, and there's been. I mean, I think it's received pretty good praise all around. There's been some kind of I don't know, discussion, and so I guess it's worth having in some circles that it has a kind of naive view of the police, but it's like, of course it does. It's a comic book game. It's Spider-Man.
Oh, I heard about it. That's trash. That's trash story reporting. Get that out of here.
Yeah.
No, it's a game based off a comic book. Yeah, Spider-Man wants the police are good guys. This is not real life.
Right. This isn't like the Dark Knight or something where they're trying to take themselves seriously. This is an idealized version of New York where people look up at a guy swinging around Manhattan and be like, "Look, it's Spider-Man," instead of shooting him.
Yeah, you ever freaking read a Spider-Man comic? The worst thing the police do in the Spider-Man comics is they're like, it's Spider-Man. We don't like him. Grumble, grumble.
Grumble, grumble. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. But no. A lot of people are just like, yeah, it doesn't do anything revolutionary. But boy, oh boy, is it really fun to just fucking swing around in a really polished AAA game.
Yeah.
Like, can't beat that.
Side note, there is the different costumes you can unlock. One of them is the original Scarlet Spider outfit where he has the blue cut-off tank top, sweatshirt, and I'm into it.
Nice.
Love that character design. It's like the most 90s superhero design that exists.
Yeah, it really is. There's a shit ton of costumes in that. One of them is he's just in his underwear.
Nice.
Spider underwear.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this top 10 list in the UK for Grand Theft Auto 5 to go back to number 1 in a couple weeks.
Yep, because it'll never ever stop.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about Dr. Disrespect. And
getting disrespected.
Yeah, I was gonna say not in a comedic way, except then you made a joke. Thanks.
Sorry.
So something actually really serious. Yeah, something really serious actually happened with Dr. Disrespect the other day. He was doing a stream and there was loud noises from outside his house. Sounded like gunshots. He went to check. One of his upstairs windows had broken because it had been shot at. This was the second time, and I don't remember if it was as many days or just the second time, like within that week, that his house had been shot at. And he stopped the stream, and it was concerning to the community. Now we found out that the second shooting that occurred at his house was from a BB gun rather than a lethal firearm. Although I guess if you could kill someone with a BB gun, it would be a lot more difficult.
It'd be pretty hard, but it could be done.
So that's I guess a little better, but still very concerning. And this sort of has compounded with a lot of other stories about streamers and stuff we've reported on in the past. Things about, like, I remember a while back, I think maybe before you were on the show, talking about this whole thing with Casey Tron. There was like a big interview with her about how she deals with keeping her anonymity and doxing and stuff like that. That was super interesting, and how a lot of streamers, Twitch streamers, need to often, if they're a big enough deal, they need to call their local police departments and tell them that they are a streamer and that police department will likely get swatting style calls to go and look into this streamer's house because people think it would be funny if cops show up while the stream is going, and that they should be aware that there's going to be a lot of these kind of prank calls and they might want to disregard most of them. And often the response that these streamers get from law enforcement is, that's ridiculous. Either they don't believe them or they do believe them and they say, well, if that's that big a problem, you need to stop streaming. And then the streamer's response is, but this is my livelihood.
This is my job.
So I can't not do that. And it's just a big deal. It's a big problem. Obviously, we've reported a lot on swatting in the past, also a really big problem, although less so lately because people have started to get arrested more for it, which
Yeah.
has served as a minor deterrent. But then, like a month ago, right, we had the shooting in Jacksonville, Florida at the Madden tournament.
That was like a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I think with Dr. Disrespect, the shooting at his house coming so close on the heels of that, a lot of Twitch streamers are basically saying, hey, I don't think I'm going to attend TwitchCon, which is going to be
Yeah.
happening, what, like next month or something?
I think so, yeah.
And they're really worried about this. Let's see. Well, we had... Oh gosh, I can't pronounce their handle.
Elohim.
Elohim says they may not attend TwitchCon on Twitter.
Yeah.
Uh,
So he had a whole. I remember reading about his whole thing. So he's a streamer, guy, lives with I think his wife and I think his child as well in a house, and had a fan of his just come up to this house. The poor guy. I mean, he showed up and he was just like, "Hey, I'm a big fan and." I don't have I lost my job and I just, wanted to see if I could hang out like with you, man. And he's like, "No, I can't let you in," And the guy just wouldn't leave. To the point where, he had to talk to him and be like, "Listen, dude, it's like I'm sorry. I'm going to call the police and we're going to try to sort this out, like try to get you to where you need to go or whatever." But it's still a scary thing. Um Same thing happened with it's not mentioned in here, but Gavin Free, who was one of the slow mo guys
oh, and
on
Meg
YouTube,
Turney. Yeah, yeah.
and Meg Turney, they had someone fucking break into their house and roam around, and I think like shoot some shit, and they had to hide in their fucking closet and call the cops.
Yeah.
Like their lives were literally in danger.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this shit's happening. So I don't blame people for being like, yeah, and especially with, Jacksonville happened. When we were talking about that, I said, yes, it's a matter of time, and it's only a matter of time till it happens at one of these cons. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Because, they have targets on their back, and these places just don't have the kind of security that like the Oscars does.
Now the streamer went on to say on Twitter that this is a difficult decision and they're still thinking hard about it. But I just wanted to get this out there. Don't feel safe in America. So that kind of speaks to a compounding of issues. It speaks to what we've been talking about with streamers and sort of their level of celebrity and how they don't really have the security that's awarded to bigger celebrities, but they have followings no less rabid than those bigger celebrities.
If not more so.
Yeah, and then you put on top of that Jacksonville and the fact that there's a lot of shootings in America that happen all the time. And if these people already don't feel safe in their homes, why would you expect them to feel safe at a convention where there's so much more risk? So it's
fuck. I don't feel safe going outside a lot of times, and no one knows who I am.
You live in Florida, so
I do, but like seriously though, it's like it's. I think even doesn't matter where you live. I mean, it's just like that. I think it's in the back of anyone's mind, like whenever they leave the house, it's like it could be anywhere. I could get run over right now. Like I could fucking get shot right now, just because someone felt like it.
So this is we're in a bad spot. People are just in general feeling unsafe, and especially in this community, and it's sad. I'm hoping some of this can turn around, but it's like I was just saying, it's a combination of factors. So probably the only thing that's going to turn it around is if we see online communities get less horrible and better at treating these people like people instead of like things,
instead of like friends,
or like servants in a weird way.
Entertainment servants. Like it's a multifaceted discussion, and I think the root of it is that people, like everyone has to, and by everyone I mean the culture, like the universal culture of humans has to start seeing that there are new types of celebrity, and they have to deal with it the same way that they deal with old types of celebrity. Because like you said, rabid fan bases for these streamers for Ninja or for whoever, Dr. Disrespect, obviously. The thing is, the difference, and they mention this in this article, is that, we have movie stars, and this kind of shit happens to movie stars too, but happens a lot less because they live in gated communities with really expensive houses where the police already know that it's a fucking area full of movie stars and athletes and doctors and shit.
And often when they're going to a big premiere or convention, they have security with them. They have their own security guards.
Right, and the events, I mean, if you're George Clooney for that, let's just pick that one out of my hat, but like, if you're George Clooney, the events you're going to are already well guarded because people know that, you're a celebrity. And more importantly, the average person has a distance between themselves and George Clooney. Like, even if you were to see George Clooney on the street, you're not like, oh, it's my friend George Clooney. It's the guy I hang out with, to watch him play video games. It's George Clooney, the movie star. So you go up and you're like, if you see him, just be like, obviously people get starstruck and shit like that. But there is this interesting psychological phenomena with YouTube stars, vloggers, streamers, with parasocial relationships, where people, because they are that close to the screen, because they are engaged in the same things that you engage with, and because they're so off the cuff, and because they're online so often, you spend so much time with them, there's parts of a lot of people's psychology that start to kind of think that they know them, that they are familiar with them, and they develop a parasocial relationship that is unhealthy. And that's something that is not, I mean, you can't solve that with anything besides the entirety of the culture of people watching streamers has to grow up and has to see this as something. They're not their friends. They're not, they're also putting on an act. And this reminds me of when movies started and TV shows started. The actors, when people would approach actors in the early ages of movies, and this actually happened way more with TV, when people started walking up to people that were parts of popular TV shows in the early days of television, they would talk to them like they were their characters that they were playing. Like, they didn't know that they were people. They would talk to them about the things that their characters did in the show as if they were real, because people didn't know how to address. They didn't know how to break the psychology of seeing a person and an actor playing a person, because they just had a parasocial relationship with the character the person was playing each week on television. And it took a long time for people to develop that emotional and psychological skill, and it has to happen with this too, or else they're just going to get harassed more and more, made worse because they're paid way less, so they don't live in nice gated houses. They live in normal communities where a lot of people are just like, okay, so you're on the computer all the time. Why do I have to care if someone shoots at your house, right? So yeah, it's going to take, just like with television, just like with movies, just like with any kind of new kind of celebrity that happens, it's going to take a cultural sea change to make these things happen. And hopefully, the cons will also gear up more and be more safe so that people can enjoy their favorite streamer.
Now, Twitch has released a statement about how they are trying to beef up security in a significant way for TwitchCon, which is good. They should be doing that. We'll see what they end up actually doing. I'm kind of curious to see their solution for this, but we're running a little low on time, so I'm going to try and blitz through these last stories. Actually, do you want to cut the TV show ones? And
I'll just mention it. Alan Wake's getting a TV show. That's cool.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was going to say about that is that usually with announcements that video games are going to get movies or TV shows, I'm like, oh wow, that's going to suck, or that's really not going to work. But this is the only one that I probably actually think might work, because Remedy they already made a television show in Quantum Break, and they basically already make TV shows already. They're closely involved with the creation of it. It's being helmed by the guy that directed Legion, or that show ran Legion, which I've heard is really great.
It's really good.
Fuck yeah. Alan Wake is like an awesome game that I love, so I'm down.
Cool.
We have Riot. Famous misogynist asshole bros Riot games. Rich misogynist asshole bros, I should say. So we reported on this a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, that they are a horrible misogynist, like meritocracy culture studio that sucks. And they got called out on it, and they said they're gonna try to fix the problem. And So they started hiring other people, and they tapped a former Uber executive to help reform corporate culture. The guy's name is Francis Frey, I think. He's a former executive at the rideshare service Uber. I keep on wanting to say Uber, and I know that's not what it is. Former Harvard Business School professor. He's been tapped to join the team at Riot. Frey was a strong driving force at both those organizations for diversity and inclusion, having been brought into Uber to help fix the company's reputation for contentious and often virulent corporate culture. Frey has been meeting with Riot CEO and executives over the last few weeks to get an immediate jump on the problems within the League of Legends developers. This comes after Riot recently let two high-profile employees go, at least one for violating a social media policy after they publicly scolded the community for its reaction to an exclusively female and non-binary panel at PAX West. So, who knows if it'll actually do much good, but they're trying, I guess, by hiring
a fixer there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're trying to fix the situation, which is better than nothing.
They're bringing in the wolf, I guess.
Yeah.
So
get Harvey Keitel over here.
Yeah, that's what they need.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with that. Not super curious because I always thought Riot was trash, and we'll probably continue to think Riot is trash after this. But I hope that they stop harassing their employees.
Yes, that'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be a good thing.
Good step in the right direction. So we also had EA. We've reported in the past a lot about these loot boxes and how in Europe they have been talking a lot about whether they're gambling or not, and certain countries have said no, they're not gambling, and then other countries have said yes, they are. Belgium being one of the places that have said yeah, no, you can't have loot boxes in games. And over the past couple weeks, as that has gone into effect, we have seen most companies either change the way their loot boxes work or remove them, but not EA. EA stands firm that loot boxes are not gambling and refused to make any changes specifically for FIFA 2018. So Belgium is just like, yeah, but our law says it is though. And EA's like, well, we disagree. And Belgium's like, okay, well, we're going to investigate you then. We're going to do a criminal investigation because you're breaking the law. So,
right.
So we don't know how that investigation is going to unfold, but EA, they got a lot of flack for being a horrible company, and man, it is deserved a lot of the time.
Yeah, fucking Jesus, this is brazen. They've said this before, where it's like Belgium, a country, a sovereign nation, said, we have decided through our lawmaking that loot boxes are gambling. And EA's like, yeah, but we don't think so. And it's like, but EA, that's not how it works. You're not a sovereign nation.
It doesn't matter if you disagree.
Yeah, it's like, I could say, you know what? I don't think I should pay for this thing at this store right now. I think I'm just going to walk out. And then the store's like, yeah, well, that's breaking the law. And then I'm like, but I don't agree, see, is the thing. It's insane to me. I don't know what Electronic Arts is doing here. Like, they knew this was going to happen.
It's like one or two countries, because I think Norway is also like this. It's just like, you could just remove loot boxes for those one or two countries. How much is that going to hurt your overall profits? Probably very little. Because that's what that's the calculation that all these other companies have made is, well, if we tweak it in this country or we remove it in this country, it's not going to hurt our overhead that much because these countries aren't that highly populated. So it doesn't really
Belgium
matter.
And the Netherlands, like the UK said that they can be in the game. Like they ruled that that's fine.
Yeah, I mean in the Netherlands, there's like more reindeer than people, so they're not playing video games. It's not a big market.
And like, I don't know, like, it's an odd hill for EA to die on, right? Like,
because this is going to trigger a court case, and if EA loses, which they probably will, that is a huge fine they're going to have to pay.
It's a huge fine, which I'm sure they can pay, but it's optically horrible because they're already the bad boys of loot boxes from, what was it, last year, the year before? I don't even remember it. Like, when the whole Star Wars Battlefront thing happened. It's already egg in their face. Like, to die on this hill in Belgium is, like, bizarre to me. It's a bizarre business choice.
it's crazy. I'm looking forward to seeing them have to pay a hefty fine.
Yeah.
Now let's now that we're just about out of time, let's talk about games that just came out, games that are about to come out. Last week on the 7th, we had Spoderman come out for the PS4.
Spider-Man.
What else did we have? We had NBA Live 19, PS4 and Xbox. We had Yokai Watch Blasters. Fantastic. Come out for the 3DS. That was the other thing they talked about during the Nintendo Direct. They talked about a yokai game for 3DS.
Yeah. Yokai's huge in Japan.
Yeah, no, they love it. What else did we have here? Dust came out for the Switch on the 10th.
Right on.
Oh, on the 11th, we had NBA 2K19. Chock full of microtransactions. Hooray!
Yep.
Yesterday we had Wasteland 2 Director's Cut come out for the Switch. And
Huzzah.
Today we had some hockey game. And
NHL, man.
yeah.
NHL's a great game.
And Shadow of the Tomb Raider came out for Windows, PS4, and Xbone. Reviews for that game have been very middling, which is too bad, because I keep wanting them to turn that franchise around and make it really good.
Yeah, I feel like they're, ever since they the new version of Tomb Raider is basically just chasing Uncharted. It's just like, we want to be Uncharted with survival stuff.
It does often feel that way, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, but you guys aren't Naughty Dog, you can't off.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. They're very good looking, though. Very pretty games.
Coming up, we have, let's see, on the 18th, we've got Bard's Tale, Barrow's
Still
Deep.
making those games?
Yeah, give them to me. I'm into it. For Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Ooh,
also on the 18th, we have the Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle, which is coming out for the Switch and also everything else, the Windows, the PS4, and the Xbone. So that's cool. Everyone gets to play King of Dragons.
Yay.
Then we have, let's see, some stuff I don't care about.
Scribblenauts.
Oh, Undertale for the Switch comes out on the 18th as well.
Yeah. I'm surprised that game's not on there already. Also, Scribblenauts, if you want to... I hate those games so much. But good on them, I guess, if you like them.
Oh, let's see, on the 20th, there's a bunch of Steins Gate games. Hooray.
Why not?
Sure.
Linear bounded phanonogram. Phanogram.
Yeah, lots and lots of releases for the Switch in the next couple weeks, which totally makes sense because that's all they've been talking about on their showcases and directs.
There's going to be lots and lots of releases for the Switch for the next couple of years, I think. It's never going to end.
One of the things, we're pretty much done here, but one of the things I just wanted to mention that I meant to mention during the Nintendo Direct discussion is, man, they even have a lot of first party stuff coming out that looks great, and they couldn't have talked about any of these things at E3. Like,
nope.
Like the Animal Crossing thing is literally just Tom Nook telling us something at his desk, and then just a little still image of Animal Crossing with the year 2019 beneath it. I'm just like, you guys couldn't tell us that at E3, really?
Nope.
But whatever, as long as this stuff's coming out, as long as it's coming out. Thank you for listening, everyone. We're at the end. I'm trying to gotta wrap it up. We're out of time.
Indeed.
I have been Lex. I've been joined by Booj, and this has been Don't Copy That Floppy, a weekly video game news podcast, vodcast, sort of. We broadcast live on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast, so you can watch there. You can see all the stories that we're pulling up. If you want to listen to the recordings, you can go over to iTunes, search Don't Copy That Floppy, and we're there. Side note about that, you will need to, depending on what app you use, you might need to scroll down because like the date listing with our RSS feed is kind of messed up. So sometimes new episodes go in under not dated and they're just at the bottom of the feed. It's annoying, but they're there. They're really there. So that's a good way to listen. And if you want to support the show, a great way to do that is by leaving a rating or review on iTunes. Also, you can go over to our lovely benefactor, chipbit.net's website and just, check it out. Check out some of the other episodes on there. Check out some of the other podcasts on there. Great way to support. They are fantastic.
Aren't you on one of those other shows?
Maybe. Shush. That's not... I'm not just plugging myself.
That's all you do is plug yourself.
That's true. So then the best and most amazing way that you can support the show, if that's what you want to do, is you can go on over to our Patreon page. Patreon.com/DCTF podcast. You give us money and get access to bonus content, which is me and Dan talking about things. We're actually about to record a bunch of bonus content this weekend. We're going to be talking about sort of our... I think we've both had our Switches for about a year, so I think one of our big topics is going to be how we feel about the Switch now that we've had it for a while. And the stuff on the horizon for the Switch, because lately that's been such a big thing to talk about. So, yeah, definitely check that out. And thanks so much just for listening. Also, I forgot to say, since we're on Twitch, you can give us bits. If you want to give us bits.
Bits!
Give us those bits. You can. Why not? And finally, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your viewership, your listenership. It means a lot to us. Now, Chris, what do people have to remember?
Don't believe the lies. Luigi's dead. Don't copy that floppy.